time to overreact and ask the question, is Lewis Hamilton falling off? He's down 1-3 in qualifying and 0-3 in races they both finished, but would be 0-4 if you included Australia. He was very much so behind George in Australia before his DNF and ultimately George's DNF as well. So maybe we'll call that one even. 0-3-1, if you will. He is one of the greatest of all time. But at some point, everyone, unless you're Fernando Alonso, has to be past your prime at some point. He is very much so getting up there in age. I think Lewis is 38 or 39 at this point. And so Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari this year, not having success with Mercedes. What do you think is next for Lewis Hamilton?
I think part of it has to be that he has one foot out the door already. Mercedes doesn't have the car this year. Obviously, they're not going to be competing this year. Lewis knows that he's not going to win a Drivers' World Championship this year or a Constructors' World Championship this year. And clearly, Ferrari has a better package right now than Mercedes. So that's obviously got to be exciting for him. Ferrari has had a 1-2 this season. It's been quite a while since Mercedes has had a 1-2. I'm sure Lewis wants that. And I think for me, that's the reason why he's underperforming. Mentally, he's already at Ferrari. And just looking at it from my standpoint, that's what it's got to be. Because he is one of the greatest of all time. And I think given the right car, he still can be, the greatest driver on the grid. Right now, that's not him. I think Max is obviously better than Lewis right now.
Right now. We said right now. Everyone, before you say anything, we said right now.
Exactly, yeah. Max is better than Lewis at this particular moment in this season so far. All that could change. But yeah, and it's quite a big challenge to get the most out of that Mercedes car, and it just doesn't seem like it's quite there. So I think Lewis is mentally in the Ferrari garage wearing that scarlet red. I wouldn't be surprised if he accidentally pulls into their pit box during a race this season. Just kidding. But I think that's what it's got to be for me.
Yeah, I could definitely see it being something similar to that. You think just back to the end of last season and the performances that Lewis Hamilton was putting in. He almost caught Sergio Perez for P2 in the constructor standings in a car that wasn't always the second best car last year. We saw him in USA. Lewis almost won that race. He got disqualified afterwards, but he was chasing down Max at the end. 2 years in a row, we've almost seen Lewis Hamilton win at Circuit of the Americas. And so we can say eyewitness accounts, we've seen Lewis Hamilton still putting in solid performances. So I don't necessarily think he's fallen off a cliff talent-wise or completely forgotten how to drive a car. I do think there is some part of him that is anticipating that move to Ferrari. And even if you say you're not, he's already signed the contract. His mind has to be there in some sense. He had to have looked elsewhere than Mercedes for his present and future at some point, this season. It honestly reminds me a lot of Sebastian Vettel's 2014 season with Red Bull. You have a young driver come in, he is beating you in a team that was your team for a number of seasons, getting ready to move to Ferrari. And then, we saw Sebastian Vettel have, some sort of career resurgence in that move to Ferrari, 2015, winning some races with Ferrari again after not winning at all in 2014 with Red Bull. So I'm confident that Lewis's move to Ferrari will pan out. I'm confident Ferrari aren't fretting that they've gotten rid of Carlos Sainz to sign Lewis Hamilton. Obviously Carlos is performing very well, but I'm sure they're still confident in Lewis. I'm sure Lewis is confident in Ferrari, knowing that they have the better car than Mercedes, with the rumors of Mercedes kind of taking 2025 off to really go in for 2026. I'm sure he's still happy with his move. So, I think we might see Lewis Hamilton. He's still performing at a high level, don't get me wrong, but not at his best this year. And then I do think we'll see an uptick in performance again once he moves to Ferrari.
I agree. I think Ferrari's definitely on the right track. And I think that will make Lewis really happy, excited to be there. So it'll be a great thing to see next year. it'll be weird to watch for sure, but I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, seeing Lewis Hamilton in red when we get to preseason testing in that car launch is going to be nuts. My mind will not be able to comprehend that for sure. But no, Lewis Hamilton has not fallen off. He's going to be just fine.